Welcome one, welcome all. It is the NFC East Mixtape, Volume 56, the greatest crossover event ever presented to you in the history of mankind. A podcast that can be heard in 4 different places across the SB Nation universe. Blog of the Boys for Dallas Cowboys fans, not just a single fan. Hogs Haven for Washington Commanders fans. Bleeding Green Nation for Philadelphia Eagles fans. And of course, Big Blue View for New York Giants fans. I am RJ Ochoa from Blog of the Boys. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. BLG, happy Tuesday to you, my friend.
Happy Tuesday, RJ. Just recorded the Oddcast on the SB Nation NFL show. I know you care the most because you once referred to your own SB Nation NFL show.
I have 2 of them, so please specify which one. So.
As the Oddcast when you were on one time, so definitely living rent-free in your head. Shout out to Bear, who's checking in this morning. It's a good time to be alive, RJ.
It is. We're recording this a little bit earlier than we usually do. You were kind enough. People who heard the 750 on the Blog of the Boys Network on Tuesday heard me say this. I had a busier Tuesday than usual. So shout out to BLG. Shout out to Bear. Shout out to our YouTube audience as well. People can watch this on the Blog of the Boys or Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channels. We have a lot to get to today, so we have to keep the dilly-dallying to a minimum. But a couple of things before we fully get started on the football talk. First of all, wherever you're listening, subscribe, leave a rating, write a review, your preferred podcast network. We haven't said that in a while. If you're a Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Commanders fan, go to your SB Nation, team blog, podcast network, subscribe, leave a rating, write a review, do what BLG says, the cross review. After you've done your own, go somewhere else, share some love. You can write whatever you want in the review, but leave a 5-star rating, and we have one of those today, Brandon. Are you ready?
I am so ready. Let's hear it.
So this is a review from Blog of the Boys. It's a few weeks old now, so apologies to Chip Kelly Ruined My Marriage, who left us a 5-star rating. It's rather long, so I'm going to try to blitz through this. But the title is BLG. There are Eagles fans in Texas. Here we go. I just received an iPhone for work, and I was most excited about being able to write a review. And since you are legally required to read it as long as it's 5 stars, here we are. I've been an Eagles fan for as long as I've watched football, 2004 Super Bowl era, and got super invested when Chip Kelly became the head coach. T's and P's to you. I've seen tons of ups and downs and have the great pleasure of living in a state where everyone is a fan of my most despised team, RJ Ochoa, from many places, including here at Blog of the Boys, and most importantly, the greatest crossover in history, the NFC East Mixtape, gives me hope that I can at some point talk to a Dallas fan that isn't delusional. His level-headed insight keeps me tuning into a podcast that is only 1/4-ish Eagles content. BLG. Shame on you, from long ago stating to the effect that, quote, there are no Eagles fans in Texas, end quote, paraphrasing an offhand from months ago. It hit me to my core and has been plaguing me ever since. Your subdued realism is akin to Michael Kiss' tell it how it is approach, and it keeps me listening week after week. But I believe we, parentheses, Texan Eagles fans, collectively are owed an apology. Appreciate the content, best of luck, and go Birds, something, something, Dallas.
I legitimately don't remember saying that and the context that was in.
Fraud.
I don't. I will say, because you left such a nice review, I will apologize to you and I guess all of the fans. I'm pretty sure I've never actually maintained that position.
I know somebody from the BGN network who doesn't believe in Eagles fans outside of the city of brotherly love. I won't name names. I know somebody. That's all.
Also, misrepresenting what I believe in, but sure.
It's not you. It's all I'll say. I won't name names, but it's not you. I know that there's some interesting thoughts happening. At the BGN. But anyway, thank you to the review. And again, if you leave a rating, we are legally obligated to read it. Brandon, before we begin our big show today, you told me right before we started recording that you were doing today's Wordle. I haven't done it yet, so please no spoiler alerts, but I have a question for you if you allow me.
Sure.
Is that the only Erdle that you do? Or like, how many Erdles are you up to at this point? Yeah.
Too many. So I do start with a Wordle.
Right.
I'll go on to a hurdle, which is the
that's the listening one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that one, sometimes I try to just, basically my goal there is do it one hit or not, like I just kind of give up. Like I don't really care about getting it in 2 or 3. Who cares? If I can get it on like the first note or so, that's impressive to me. Some of the songs I just don't even know. Even when I play them full out, I'm like, never heard of this song. So it's kind of hit and miss. I also do World-ol because I like maps and geography a lot. So I'm pretty good at that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
are you a Quordle fan?
I do a Quirtle. So
Quirtle's good.
And then I just recently got onto the Octurtle,
Mm-hmm.
where it's the 8 different Wordle things you have to solve, which I actually kind of think that's fun.
It is fun. What I don't like about the Octo one is you have to move up and down the screen. What I like about the Quirtle is it's all there so you can digest all the information that you need. Are you a Weddle fan?
No.
Do you know what that is?
No.
It is this is like our segue into football. It's NFL version of Wordle. So what you do is I'm gonna mess this up, but you have like 6 or 8 guesses, and you have to guess a specific NFL player. And so you start off and you just pick a player, right? Like, Dak Prescott. And then it tells you like the green and yellow coloring.
Mm-hmm.
It's yellow if you're in the right conference, but not in that respective division. So like if NFC East were to be highlighted, it would be another NFC divisional player that you're looking for. If the position is yellow, then you're on the right side of the ball, but it's not that particular position. And then I think it has height, age,
Yes.
and jersey number, and there are arrows. So like it tells you whether the person is taller, younger, or higher, lower in jersey number. And so then you have to put together the player based on those particular clues. So for anyone that's curious, it's Weddle. And so it's somewhat easy. Like if you can, cast a wide enough net on your first guess, you can kind of lock in. Like it generally is like a 3 to 4 guess sort of game, because the jersey numbers really help. But they do have a hard mode. So the standard mode is, as they refer to it, all like kind of fantasy relevant players. I know you're not a big fantasy player yourself, but the hard mode does include offensive linemen, defensive linemen, like all sorts of players all across the ball, special teamers, etc. So it's fun. It's worth a try.
I'm playing it right now.
I haven't done today, so don't ruin it. I mean,
okay.
But it's fun. It's interesting. I believe there is also a Wardle, spelled WAR, like the popular baseball metric, like wins above replacement. And so I believe that's the same game, but for Major League Baseball players. So, yeah, cool.
Fun.
We good?
Yeah.
Well, so today we are going to start off with BLG's Power Rankings. He has a fresh new edition up at bleedinggreennation.com. Quickly discuss where each NFC East team is. And then we are going to go, because the schedule comes out later this week. This does not necessarily, we're not off our schedule. I know we are off constantly with the NFL news cycle, but this comes out on Thursday. We'll, of course, have you updated at every team site. But, BLG, a game that you like that I do is looking at each team's schedule, or opposition at least, by opposing quarterbacks. So we're going to look at all of the opposing quarterbacks that each 4 teams are going to face and figure out how many undisputed advantages each team has at the all-important quarterback position. Are you ready?
Well, we're doing the power rankings first, you said?
Yes, that's literally what I said. So good job listening.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I understand how you suck at Hurdle now. Right.
You just brought the other thing up, and I was like, okay.
I'm laying out the rundown for the listener so they're aware of what they're getting into today.
So I feel like we should start from the bottom up in the power rankings, so that's more intriguing.
Bottoms up. Nicki Minaj.
I think we all know who is last in the NFC East, and it's the Dallas Cowboys. No, it's the New York Football Giants, who arguably in RJ's eyes don't deserve the football title. The New York Giants.
The official title is New York getting better at football once again, Giants.
Yes, that's what they should say. I have them at 25th overall, so I just have
bottom third.
7 teams below them. Did some quick math right there. Yes, I have them at 25. I have them just below the Detroit
bottom fourth,
Lions.
Actually. Yeah.
Just below the Detroit Lions at number 24 for context, and just above the New York Jets at number 26.
I think that's fair. And I think that is kind of like, this is a weird way to put this, and I hate kind of grandstanding statements like this, but if their season was akin to the 2021 Detroit Lions season, I think it would be successful. I know, I don't know their, one of the hosts on one of our shows on Monday brought this up. I don't know Detroit's record against the spread last year. I don't know if you can pull that up. But
it was good.
Yeah, it was much better than obviously their overall record. So say what you will about Dan Campbell, like we're not here to like stand for him or anything, but I mean, like it was very clear and evident that there was a strong culture built among the Lions last year, an exciting one. I don't know what that means for them this season, but it was the right first step. No big deal. I drafted Jameson Williams in my dynasty league. I've already got CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Jamar Chase, so I can afford to take some time to chill. So congrats to me. But if the Giants had a season like that, I'd be really impressed. What was Detroit's record against the spread?
They were 11-6. They had
holy crap! Seriously,
fourth best cover percentage of any team. The only teams ahead of them were the Cowboys at the top, 13-5. The Bengals 14-7, and then the Packers at 12-6. On the other hand, the New York Giants were the third worst cover percentage, tied with the Jets at 6-11. So literally on the opposite end of the spectrum there.
One of the only games they covered, by the way, their win against the Eagles.
I do agree with you that if they had a Lion-esque season, that would be good for them. Although the quarterback thing is a little bit different. You know, obviously I think there's more expectation out of Daniel Jones this year than there was out of Goff next year. Because there is, I don't think
I disagree. I
well,
think
at no point, at what point have Lions fans or the team really been like, Jared Goff might be our guy? Like,
no,
I don't think that's ever been the case.
I agree, but Jared Goff's like career hung in the balance last year and still kind of does this year. And like Daniel Jones will be like a QB2 somewhere. Like Daniel Jones will be in the NFL for a little while. You know what I mean? At the very least. But obviously, like this is an important season for Daniel Jones, the person. But as far as like if you're a New York Giants fan, I don't think there's any pressure on Daniel Jones this year. Like I'm not trying to do the selling.
What are you talking about? Of course there is. This is like a make or break year for him.
Hang on. So like again, I'm talking about if you're a Giants fan. I don't think there's like any. I don't think there's any pressure as far as your emotional attachment to Daniel Jones. And I think that's what was unique about Goff. That's why I think the comp works really well. Because I don't think any Lions fans are like emotionally attached to Goff. Do you think a single Lions fan bought a Jared Goff jersey last year?
I mean, I'm sure they did because.
Anyway, so my point is, I'm not trying to do the caping like the no fifth year option is actually good for Daniel Jones. Like that's not what I'm doing.
No,
but I do think as a fan, it's liberating, right? Like because now you're liberated from like, okay, you know what, this is either going to be amazing and then the team just has to figure it out, or it's not, and it like you've already accepted the bad with Daniel Jones. Like at this point, you're at rock bottom. Things can only get better with Daniel Jones. Is kind of my point.
I just think the Giants have much higher hopes for Daniel Jones this year than the Lions had internally for Jared Goff last year and moving forward. I don't think that means they're definitely all in on him 100% moving forward, but I do think there's more of hope that he can be the guy. So point being, like, I just think there's more pressure on the quarterback to actually, show something than there was for Goff last year, as much as like there was just, you wanted to see something from the team. I feel like as a Lions fan, whereas if you're a Giants fan, you definitely need to, or want to see something from Daniel Jones to make you feel good about him. So I think it's a little different, but I get what you're saying on the whole.
See, maybe a future episode of the NFC East Mixtape. Like, and by the way, our episodes basically just serve as like focus groups for future episodes. It's just kind of like every episode around here. But a future episode is like maybe the top 10 people under the most pressure in the division. And so like my point is the person with the most pressure on them within the New York Giants organization this season is not Daniel Jones. It's Brian Daboll. Because Brian Daboll, you're supposed to be the fix, right? Like you're supposed to be the one. We got an adult in the room. There's competency all around us now, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Daniel Jones is here. Fine, we kind of believe in him, whatever, but he's a mistake of the past, right? Like he's a mark of the past failures. Like Brian Daboll, you're the commitment to the future. Like, and like maybe pressure is not the right word, but it's like, I was going to say necessity, but that's basically the same thing as pressure. But like they need in their bones for Brian Daboll to be good, because if he's not, then they're just swirling in the same sort of situation. Like the want and need I think should be greater for Brian Daboll to succeed this year more than Daniel Jones.
So they're at 25, all the way at the bottom. Then we'll move up to the second to last team, the penultimate team in the standings. I don't know if that's how that works. Probably not.
I can tell you how I learned what that word meant, by the way.
How?
Game of Thrones. Yeah. That was literally how I learned what that word meant.
Mm-hmm. So. How did I know?
Have I told you that before? Because I tell that story a lot. So.
Maybe, but also I just felt like that got used a lot. Because that was usually the big
big episode, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the best episode of the season, typically. Not the finale, but the one right before. Which is kind of goes to my championship game theory. Like, I think the championship game is often obviously better than the Super Bowl itself. I think there's just more emotion baked in, but that's a whole different point for another day. I have the Washington Commanders at number 23. So just 2 spots above the Giants here. They're just kind of like a big...
Wait, where do you have them ranked?
23rd. I have them just above the Lions and just below the New Orleans Saints.
The Lions are basically in an NFC East sandwich.
They are.
What kind of sandwich would represent us? I think a good, like, big protein packed sandwich, like something with pastrami and corned beef.
Maybe you get something. Do you get something from each of the cities? Like a trademark meat from like, so you get like like a pastrami for like a New York deli. Maybe you have some brisket or some barbecue meat of some sort.
Right.
For Texas, you got a Philly cheesesteak. You got mixed in there. Maybe it's the roll. Maybe Philly provides.
No, check me out. All right, so you've got the the pastrami and the kind of steak are your meats. The cheese from the Philly cheesesteak and the bread, right? And then some sort of like side, you're better at this than I am, like chips or fried something as your again side dish here with like whatever coleslaw dressing sauce that's really popular in the DC area.
I can't even think of what DC has to offer. There's a really good burger place down there, but that's not like specific to their culture. It's just there's a good restaurant that they have. It's tough. I can't think. What is like? I mean, they have Ben's Chili Bowl. I guess if you want to put some chili on this, but like
just a bowl of chili on the side. That's what we've got here.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, 23 is Washington.
23, Washington Commanders. I saw Torrey Smith defending his former teammate Carson Wentz, I'm like, Torrey, what are we doing, man? Like, I get he's your friend, I guess, but like
Baltimore Raven, great Torrey Smith. Nothing else, by the way.
Eagles Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith, who famously caught a pass off of the knee of a former Cowboy, Keanu Neal. I think the Commanders. There's an interesting article right now up on Hogs Haven, RJ, if you haven't seen it, asking if the Commanders have like their best offense during the Dan Snyder era currently. So I mean, no, right? I mean, probably not.
I mean,
like, what would the top one would probably be RG3, right? Like the RG3 season, that had to be the top one.
That's the top individual quarterback. But man, dude, like the 07 Washington team, like at that point, they'd already moved on to Jason Campbell, right? Who was qualified, at the time. Obviously,
I like Jason Campbell. I thought he was a little underrated.
It was working really well. So and I think Clinton Portis was still around. So you're talking about you had Jason Campbell, Clinton Portis, Santana Moss. I think Antoine Randall was there. Chris Cooley. That's a kind of a loaded team. And that 06 team went to the playoffs. I think sometimes this, like, we're starting to see this with like people of quote unquote our generation. We kind of like forget anything that happened before like 2011. You know what I mean? It's like nothing.
And who can blame us?
Right. Like nothing from then like really matters. Actually, it's the best way. Like, nothing before television was in HD is like remembered by anybody ever. So this unfortunately falls in that spot. But I don't think so. I would say the 06 team. I'm gonna pull them up just to be totally certain, since you didn't while I was talking.
I mean, the Washington had some, question marks on the offensive line. You lost Brandon Scherf. Carson Wentz is your starting quarterback, which is like, it's an issue, man. He's not going to be the worst quarterback in the NFL this year. It's not like that. It's not that you're getting the 2020 version of him. No one is really saying that. But, I mean, people like to say he was actually good last year or wasn't as bad as people think because of the numbers or whatever. But like we talked about it, the Colts are running the ball so much to be able to rely on Jonathan Taylor like they did, and you can't just discount that meltdown against the Jags. Like you can't just be like, oh, it's one bad game at a bad time. Like no, that stuff matters. And a big bugaboo with Carson Wentz is like he hasn't done anything in the playoffs yet. He's only been healthy for
he's like literally never played in the playoffs, to be clear.
Like 9 snaps, whatever it was in 2020 when the Eagles played the Seahawks.
Before Jadeveon Clowney had it out for him.
I mean, that was like it was definitely should have been. There are lesser hits that have been like penalized and
I was off one year, by the way, on my it was the 07 team that I was thinking of. Again, starting offense: Jason Campbell, Clinton Portis, Mike Seller, Santana Moss, Anton Randall, Chris Cooley, Chris Samuels, the great Jason Fabini at right guard. Like that, I would put that ahead of this team.
Who was coaching them?
This was Joe Gibbs.
Okay.
Season.
The second era. The second.
Right. Last Joe season before who followed Joe Gibbs the second time.
Was it Zorn?
Yep.
Man, Jim Zorn. I can never forget that graphic of the like convoluted play calling system they had, where like
Right.
this guy relayed it into him, and then he talked to this guy. Foxley loved showing that graphic, and I love that graphic because it was like just so insane. Anyway,
But I do think, I think the meme of who this team is has overtaken people's objectivity when it comes to them. Sometimes ours. Sometimes, like I do think they are better because
better than what they were last year.
let me say this: this is their best team offensively, like on talent, on paper, or whatever, how you want to put it, since Kirk Cousins was their quarterback. And I realized, Kirk Cousins, I realized I'm Brandon. Oh, Kirk, he sucks. But like, I do think there is a modicum of stability with Wentz. There's like, it's not great, but it is
Stability
legitimate.
is an interesting word to choose.
I know, but I do think at a certain point it's just too much. It's you're just battling too many things. So and you know, Ron Rivera has done a great job, literally, of trying to turn around their culture, but it's too wide of a turn. Like you're trying to turn like a massive ship 180 degrees, and you just can't in one fell swoop. And so I think they'll be better. I think they'll be more competitive, however you want to put that, but I don't think they'll be legit.
They got worse in the trenches. Carson Wentz will have some good games, I'm sure, especially as they're playing worse teams. Worse teams?
Worse.
More worse. Worstest.
Worse off.
Worse off. I think how do you see, we talked about it at the time of the trade, and that's what I'm going back to. How do you see the Carson Wentz situation going well there for all teams and giving his story? Like how do you possibly see it? Like I could see him beat the Eagles once because of course that'll happen. But I mean, that might be the highlight of their season, honestly.
I will say this, and then we should move on because we've been talking about Wentz a lot. But, and I mean this totally seriously. So anybody who does listen to the SB Nation NFL show, first of all, we love you. But you have heard me drag the Indianapolis Colts. BLG has tried to jump on my coattails and pretend like he's a Colts hater.
I have been criticizing them since they traded for Carson Wentz.
I will say this. The fact that Chris Ballard is continuing to like run over and back up and run over Carson Wentz, I think makes me somewhat believe in Carson in the like most loose possible way. Did you hear what Chris Ballard said to Mike Florio last week on his podcast?
I did hear it. It was something to the effect of that they would have moved on from him even if they had beaten the
dude. It's like let it go, Chris. Like I have no idea why Chris like insists on dragging this dude. It's actually it's more than lame.
You do know why. You do know why.
It's to save himself, but obviously, but like it's more than lame and it's more than unprofessional. It's just mean. You know what I mean? Like and that's I mean, so I in a very, very weird way respect Carson Wentz for just staying quiet. And maybe, you know, that comment blows up in my face and when there's like a tell-all moment, like Carson sits down with like, I don't know, GQ or something in a few months and tells his side of the story. But I do somewhat for now respect that he is just letting that team take their shots. And I'm curious is kind of the best way to describe this.
Okay. So we'll move on from Carson Wentz and go on to the team that is second in my power rankings when it comes to the NFC East. It's not the Philadelphia Eagles, RJ. Mm-hmm. It's the Dallas Cowboys at number 13. Mm-hmm. I have them.
Holy crap. You better not have the Eagles in your top 10. That would be absurd. BLG, the Eagles were the 14th team in the playoffs last year.
I have the Eagles one spot ahead of the Dallas Cowboys at number 12. And then I have the Cleveland Browns.
That just is not like soundly put together. That's just not.
And the Cleveland Browns right under the Cowboys at number 14.
The Eagles arguably have the worst quarterback in the division.
So let's not talk.
Like there's no way that like you can put them this high. Like forget where the Cowboys are. There's no way the Eagles are the 12th best team in the NFL. No.
So let's go through and talk about the Cowboys first because we're going in order from bottom up. And I just think it's been a bad vibes offseason for the Cowboys. Basically at every turn.
I think leaning on the vibes is silly. Like you don't have to lean on the vibes.
Vibes.
It's just been a bad offseason.
All that matters.
Sure, I agree. Like I think the Cowboys are worse at a lot of positions.
Where did the Cowboys get better? Stats asked that on the Oddcast today, and I thought it was a good question. Can you answer it?
I mean, you could say that they are better defensively. Just off the
Where?
generally speaking, like Micah, like they're better at outside linebacker or middle linebacker or wherever Micah's playing. Edge
How is
rusher,
that better?
Well, I mean, because he's better, right? Like he's year 2 Micah.
Okay, but like significantly better.
Well, you're asking the question, so you want me to answer?
Yeah, he might get worse though. He might get worse because he had such a great season. He
might, but like
bound to regress and still be a very good player.
In like theoretically speaking, he's better by having experience, right? Like he is similar to me, to the way I know you're gonna love this. To like Jason Tatum. Like Jason Tatum shows up and he's like amazing. You're like, this dude's going to be a superstar. And I know there was like some, regression because that's natural, right? Like, but Jason Tatum is like a superstar. And so that's how I feel about Micah. Like there might be this regression from a statistical, volume standpoint, but I do think he's better just by proxy of being in his second year in the NFL. So like that is the answer. Like to answer the question, they are worse in other ways or in other positions in the same way, right? Like they're worse at left tackle because Tyron's a year older, right? Like they're worse at right guard because Zach is a year older. But like those are kind of status quo best worse. They're not marginally better in any way, not a single one. They're worse as far as their starting receiver group, like at least when they're in 11 personnel, because I really like Jalen Tolbert, but Amari Cooper's gone. They're worse along the offensive line as a whole because you're down Connor Williams and Lyle Collins. Even if Tyler Smith is a baller, I mean, it's, you're putting this thing together with duct tape and glue. They're, probably worse at their other edge rusher position without Randy Gregory, although he missed some time last year, so you can kind of play that picky game. But I mean, there is, generally speaking, a sense that they are worse. I don't think any Cowboys fan would disagree with that. However, they have the best quarterback in the division, which covers up basically all of that relative to this specific division.
20 years almost. The last time a team in the NFC East repeated as division champions. So I think to just definitely have the Cowboys at the top is not unfair, but it's also not like, I don't think it's insane to not have the Cowboys on the top under that premise that things tend to be cyclical or fast changing in the NFC East. That's why I have the Eagles at the top. It's not that I feel amazing about the Eagles' ability.
If you're going to have the Eagles at the top, I think having them like 16 and the Cowboys 17 is more fair than both 12, 13.
But like, that's fine. I mean, so the teams right below the Eagles and the Cowboys for me are the Browns, who I admittedly have a hard time ranking given Deshaun Watson's, the question marks about his availability. I could bump them up ahead of the Eagles and Cowboys. Like, I just don't know. I don't know what to do with them. And then I have the Patriots right below them, and I have the Titans below them, and I have the Colts right below them. So if you want to put all of those AFC East teams or some of them above the Eagles and the Cowboys, I don't know. Again, it's more about tiers than the individual rankings. This is kind of a big middle. The Eagles are part of that big middle. I think they're on the higher end of the big middle.
I don't think so. Like, I mean, because they have a better, interior defensive lineman on first and second down, like, because they have another receiver for.
Don't read the Jordan Davis
because they have another receiver for Jalen Hurts to miss entirely.
Well, that's Jalen Hurts is a really big question mark. That is not that much. Is no, but acknowledged.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like they have arguably the worst quarterback in the division. Is that not unfair to say?
I think that's unfair. I think you're giving Daniel Jones way too much credit. I think Daniel Jones might have a higher ceiling than Jalen Hurts, but I think if you're looking at floor, you have to give Jalen Hurts a higher floor than Daniel Jones has.
I think he has a higher floor in terms of his individual accomplishments. So, like, I don't mean to make this about this, but like, if you're talking about who they are as fantasy players, like, and I know you're not saying that. I think Jalen Hurts certainly has a higher floor. But as far as, and this sounds lame too, but as far as like leading their teams to victory, I think they're comparable. I mean, Jalen Hurts. I would say the Jalen Hurts traps his offense more than any other quarterback in the NFC East.
It's a problem. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. But that being said, they're really good at doing the thing they're being trapped in.
But they're really good at doing that thing and spent a really valuable resource and a lot of money on a thing that isn't that thing. So, I mean, if they're like, depending on the other thing and he has to do that thing, which he is not good at, then that is not going to end well for this team.
Well, I think that limits the team's ability to compete for a championship, but I don't think it limits their ability to necessarily win the NFC East in a year where they don't have a lot of great quarterbacks on the schedule, which we will get to here in a minute. So
I'm going to go out on a limb. You ready for this? You tell me if you want to take me on this. I will say that Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney both
who might not even be on the Giants
catch a touchdown this season before AJ Brown does.
No.
So you disagree? That's what you're saying.
You're saying And Kadarius Toney has to be in the Giants in this situation.
Right. So
if
if he's not, then this is only applicable to Kenny Golladay. Right. So like it's like, Kenny Golladay, New York Giants receivers, Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney will both have a touchdown reception this season before AJ Brown does.
No, AJ Brown will score. And
I think we're going like 3 games without a touchdown for AJ Brown.
Nope.
Okay. So we're looking at the combination of a team that runs the ball more than anybody else and a quarterback that is worse at throwing the ball than just about every other starter in the NFL. And we think that like this is money that he's catching a touchdown.
I don't think it's just about Jalen Hurts. I think there's a lot of strength on this roster in the trenches where, again, the quarterback, admittedly, big question mark. But I think there's talent elsewhere on the roster, and we saw it last year. And again, ability to beat up on the worst teams that this team will be in it.
If you looked at if the NFC East was a sitcom, right? And in the beginning was the theme song of the NFC East, maybe the mixtape, but and it had all the the characters like being shown in the cut ups, whatever. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is the main character. Of all of them, he's the worst. Of all the main characters, he is the least reliable, least dependable, most flagrant as far as potential to ruin and derail a season. And so, I think
that's Carson Wentz.
I don't know, man. I mean,
we just saw it. We just saw him melt down in epic fashion.
I don't think we saw him melt down in epic fashion, alone. He was not alone. That's do you know that the Colts let Trevor Lawrence march up and down them on his first possession of the game, defensively? The mighty Darius Leonard and DeForest Buckner and this whole Colts defense that Carson Wentz has nothing to do with. Again, I hate that I have to cape for Carson Wentz to a certain degree, but he was not alone in his meltdown.
You gave him some short fields to work with too, because he kept turning the ball over.
He did. Again, Carson sucks, but he is not the only person that sucks. And if we assume, I think Carson has a better defense to play, opposite of him than Jalen Hurts does. Well, and so, there's going to be some regression back to the mean for Washington, right, defensively this year, because they went all the way to the other end last year.
They caught on halfway through the season. They started to be more like themselves. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm kind of, I might be willing to take the Commanders to finish higher in the division than the Eagles.
Well, you have the Giants winning the NFC, so
I know it's going to be Giants, Commanders, Cowboys, Eagles. That's how it's going to go. So.
Okay.
Okay. Are we done with the power rankings, or do you have anything else? Okay. So the last little bit of the episode today, because the schedule comes out on Thursday. BLG, do you have any predictions, by the way, for the Eagles schedule? The Eagles are playing the Vikings on Monday Night Football, right? Week 2.
Justin Jefferson coming to Philly for the first time. His first game against the Eagles since the Eagles passed on him to take Jalen Reagor instead.
I guarantee you Jalen Reagor scores in that game. I guarantee you.
He might not be on the team by then. Who knows?
Okay. But do you have any other predictions?
No.
I have one prediction. I made a TikTok about this. I've been TikToking. Wow. I was talking to you about this. So we're recording this Tuesday morning, a little bit after it was announced that Tom Brady is going to be the lead analyst for Fox whenever he's done playing in 1,000 years. And that means he's going to be in our lives for a lot of football because Fox has the NFC package. And so we're going to get a lot of Tom Brady. Someday, Tom Brady's going to call the Cowboys-Eagles game. It's going to be you, me, and Tom Brady, PLG. Anyway, so
I have a quick point to make regarding your TikTok. You know who wouldn't really be into TikTok a lot at all?
I don't.
It would be Captain Hook, from Peter Pan. Because the crocodile is named TikTok. That has the clock in it. The one that's trying to eat him. He wouldn't be a fan.
So anyway, my prediction... Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game this year is on Fox. By the way, the last 3 times the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game was on Fox, it was against Washington, and so we'll see. But anyway,
did you know that was the crocodile's name? By the way,
I did not. I didn't even remember the crocodile existed. Yeah. So Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game is on Fox. Cowboys host the Buccaneers this year. The Thanksgiving Day game on Fox is, especially when it's the Cowboys, generally Fox's biggest regular season game of the year. What better way to usher in the new Tom Brady era than to have their future top color analyst in their biggest regular season window of the year against the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, Cowboys Bucks Thanksgiving. That's my prediction.
I just want to get it on the record before the schedule comes out because I know it's not going to happen. And I've said this to you privately, so it's not a new take that you haven't heard. I think we haven't had Eagles Cowboys since like 2002 or something. So like, or 2000. It's been like over 20 years or like over 20
As the
years.
opener. You didn't say that right now. But
sorry.
Yeah, as the opener.
As week one. It's just, I guess there's reasons for doing it in terms of like wanting it to be a primetime game or whatever. But like, it doesn't like it needs to happen more than 0 times in 20 years. It's like, it's a top rivalry. It should happen. And especially because they always save it for week 17, 18 now in today's NFL. And there's been so many meaningless Eagles Cowboys games in the past few years.
That's something I've talked about forever is well, it can't be the Dak Wentz era, but like in the Dak era, which is a long time now. The first game in Philly was week 17, and Dallas had clinched the 1 seed, so it was meaningless. The second year, 2017, it was in Philly in week 17 when Philly had clinched the number 1 seed. In 2018, they finally did play in Philly with legitimacy. Leighton Vander Esch picked off Carson Wentz, and that was the Zeke Hurdle game.
Earliest November, right after the trade deadline.
Right, that was when Jeff Heath stopped Zach Ertz. Jeff Heath owns Zach Ertz, by the way. 2019, the game in Philly had the juice, like it was, big, but Dak had the hurt shoulder, and so it really wasn't whatever. 2020 obviously got ruined by, Dak Prescott's injury. That was Ben DiNucci in Philly. And 2021, last year in Philly, was week 17 was
like a preseason game.
Yeah, it was nothing. So like we have not really had Cowboys Eagles in Philly. Like I would posit this needs to happen in Philadelphia with legitimate meeting in a very, very, very long time. I would say the last Cowboys Eagles game in Philly that like I was pumped for was 2014. When Mark Sanchez was quarterback, Dez had the 3 touchdowns on Nolan Carroll. Like that was big. That was like the division was on the line and Dallas separated that night.
Yeah, it was a primetime game too. Yep. I just think there needs to be a week 1 Eagles Cowboys game. I think there's no better way to start your season than with a division game because it's huge if you win to get that leg up early on to be 1-0 in the division to start the year. And it's also devastating if you start off the year 0-1 and you feel like you're already in a significant hole, more so than if you lost to an AFC team or something. So I think it just adds instant juice to the season. And again, just even disregarding all that, just to make the game like guaranteed meaningful game in the season, avoiding let's say Dak getting hurt and the season being over. I just think you need to get it in week 1. We're overdue for it.
I will say, and then we're about to move on to the subject. And this is like generally not just Cowboys or Eagles. I think it's dumb. Do not give any team 2 divisional games in weeks 1 and 2. They're so important. Like, fine, you want to give them 1 in the first 2 weeks. I'm totally cool with that. But to give them a third of their divisional games in the first 2 weeks of the season is completely unfair. But and it can work both ways. Like in 2015, Dallas had divisional games in the first 2 weeks. They beat Philly in week 2 when Tony Romo got hurt. But that's what kept them alive throughout Romo being hurt was the division was bad and they were 2-0 in it, and that just like kept them in the mix. But anyway, so what the exercise was, although I think Brandon did it incorrectly, was to look at every team's opponents and see how many games each team, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants, and Eagles, have the 100% quarterback advantage in the particular contest. Did you do this effectively, Brandon?
I thought you were coming up with this when we were talking about it.
So I did. So we can go in ascending order. So I actually marked the games where I am 100% convinced the quarterback in question, so for the divisional teams, is at a disadvantage, or rather the team is at a disadvantage because of the quarterback matchup. So for the Giants, the quarterbacks they are playing, and I'll rip through these quickly: Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Lock, Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Davis Mills, and then the divisional ones. And there's a lot of crossover here because of the way the schedule works. And by the way, these are all projected starters, obviously. But the quarterbacks who I think the Giants 100% have a disadvantage against: Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson.
Disadvantage.
Yeah, disadvantage. Okay. I mean, this is the way I marked it. So Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, and then all 6 games against the divisional opponents. Okay. I know I talked about Daniel Jones like maybe being like in contention, but like in the overall, I think I'm willing to give them 6 losses. I might be surprised by something, but. So that's
so 1, 2, 3, 4. You added Matt Ryan in there.
Yeah, that's 10 games that I think the Giants are at a disadvantage from a quarterback standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could quibble over the Bears, you could quibble over Jacksonville, depending on how much you might believe in Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know if that's clear.
So that gives them 7 games where they are at an advantage from a quarterback standpoint. And you're right. There's like a plus minus of like 2 games or whatever, but that's just life. Are we ready to move to Washington?
The Washington Commanders.
So these are again, I'm not going to rip through all the quarterbacks because they're mostly the same, but the games the Commanders are undeniably at a disadvantage from a quarterback standpoint. Aaron Rodgers, which is the case for every team, by the way, if that wasn't going to be obvious. Deshaun Watson, although that's pending because we don't know if they'll play him, obviously. So Deshaun, Kirk Cousins. I was just defending Carson, but I love me some Kirk. Ryan Tannehill, I included as an advantage over Carson Wentz. Dak Prescott twice, and I gave Jalen Hurts once. I split them. Just because you never know how that's going to go. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, which means 10 games that Washington undeniably has the quarterback advantage. These are the quarterbacks I think Washington has advantage in. Marcus Mariota, Trey Lance, which, maybe it's Jimmy Garoppolo, who knows. Matt Ryan. I think Carson Wentz is superior to Matt Ryan. That's why I think the Colts are big-time losers. Jared Goff.
That one's arguable, but okay.
Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Davis Mills, Daniel Jones, and Jalen Hurts once.
Okay.
I think that's all fair.
I would say I would give Matt Ryan the advantage, but fine. Yeah.
Okay, so ready for the Eagles. Ooh. Okay, yeah. I'll go through the Eagles and Cowboys ones one by one. So Jameis Winston, I think Jalen Hurts has the advantage.
Interesting.
I think Jameis has the higher ceiling. Right. So like Jameis could have like 400 yards that game. You know what I mean? But
he can also throw like 4 interceptions.
Right. Like on average, I'm taking Jalen Hurts there. Just because like that game is going to be like Jalen Hurts like running for 200 yards and Jameis,
he's beaten the Saints twice.
Right.
He owns the Saints.
Aaron Rodgers, obviously a disadvantage. Kyler Murray, a disadvantage. Mitchell Trubisky, and we'll see. Maybe it's Kenny Pickett. Who knows? A lot of that depends on the time. Is this the Keystone Bowl? Is that what this is?
Some would say. Keystone State Bowl, yes.
Okay, I'll give that one to Jalen Hurts. Kirk Cousins, I give the edge over Jalen Hurts. I know that makes you so happy.
Oh, so you're taking Hurts over Cousins?
I'm taking Cousins over Hurts.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I'm taking Tannehill over Hurts as well. Sure. But the Tannehill thing is interesting because it could, again, and like that's an interesting one, and so is the Cousins. No, not Cousins, but Tannehill relative to the whole division. Will some of these teams get Malik Willis? Will one of the teams get Malik Willis? We just don't know. But anyway, I give Tannehill the advantage. Matt Ryan, I take Hurts over Matt Ryan, Goff, Lawrence, Fields, Mills. I take Dak both times over Hurts. I'll take Hurts both times over Daniel Jones, again, despite what I said. And like I said, he split with Carson.
So how many games do the Eagles have the disadvantage?
Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, twice against Dak, that's 6, and then once against Carson, that's 7.
Okay.
So I gave the Commanders and Eagles both 10 games with the quarterback advantage.
All right.
And finally, the Dallas Cowboys. This, you're gonna love this, but so I will give the following quarterbacks the undeniable advantage over the Cowboys here in these games: Tom Brady, future Fox analyst; Aaron Rodgers; Joe Burrow. That's it. I think, like, if you want to quibble about Matthew Stafford, we can, whatever. But like,
I would say Stafford. I think you have to give him that.
Sure, I think that's a push. Like, you can go back and forth. Like, I don't want to waste the time like talking around in circles and circles and circles. But so fine, even if you did, that'd be 4. But I'm taking Dak over Cousins, Tannehill, Ryan, Goff, Lawrence, Fields, Mills, and then all 6 divisional quarterbacks.
So how many disadvantages for the Cowboys then?
6.
What's the number? 6. Okay.
So 11 advantages for the Cowboys, 10 for both the Commanders and the Eagles, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the Giants. So if you go off of this, that would be 11 wins, so to speak, for the Cowboys, 10 wins for both Philly and Washington, and 7 wins for the Giants.
Okay.
And so, like, I think doing this exercise, this is my like meta take. I think the NFC East is back. All right, like not back, but think like all of these teams get to play the Justin Fields led Bears, the Jared Goff led Vikings, the if you want to call it Ryan Tannehill led Malik Willis led Titans, the Trevor Lawrence led Jaguars, the Davis Mills led Texans. That's 5 games right there that I think you can almost, like, in a weird way, maybe if you remove the Titans, almost kind of slam dunk give the entire division. That's crazy. Sure. And then like there's going to be some cross pollen. Like I think this is a division where like I think we could have the lowest win team have 7 wins. And I think the take in December will be like, man, the NFC East is back. It's not back. Just they played each other. They played the AFC South and they played the NFC North and they all lost to the Packers. Like that's really what this is, you know, but it will look like they're back.
Okay. Yeah. The NFC Beast, if you will.
Oh,
I just came up with that.
Wow.
On the spot.
What is another pun? Like what rhymes with beast and least that we don't use?
NFC Feast.
Oh. NFC.
They're eating everybody. Or they're being eaten. NFC East.
It doesn't rhyme, but
because they're baking and they're rising.
Right. It doesn't rhyme, but we should both get vests and call it the NFC Vest.
What?
So like not the
it makes no sense.
Like V would be Veast. That doesn't make sense. But like the NFC Vest, and then
then that's like the NFC West though.
How about the NFC?
NFC. I'm looking at my keyboard here.
I know, me too.
NFC West, like
that's
Patrick.
Not a word.
Yeah, well, Patrick from SpongeBob SquarePants once thought West said West. I think I got it. Yeast because it rises.
Yeah.
Beast. Feast.
Feast is the best one.
There's no other really word that would begin with like ceased, but that's like C.
That's spelled differently.
Yeah.
No, it's feast.
That's like when we need this.
Holy crap! No, I got it.
The division.
I got it. If the Cowboys play a division rival on Thanksgiving, that's the NFC Feast.
Wow. That could happen. That was potentially going to be my schedule prediction when you asked for one. I could see the Eagles playing on. It's been a while. It's been since what 2015, 14. Well, I thought it was 15. Didn't they play back to back? No, sorry. Okay, the Eagles played on Thanksgiving back to back. They didn't play the Cowboys back to back. They played the Lions in 2015 after they played the Cowboys in 2014. But yeah, I could see the Eagles being on Thanksgiving again.
Hopefully okay. We said it all, Brandon.
Wow. What a great episode.
It was a really chock full episode. I feel spent. Do you?
I feel spent. I feel like one thing I wanted to say earlier about the ratings and reviews is with the off season, you know, the real like dead zone kind of approaching sooner than later, and we won't have as many things to talk about, you know, after the schedule and everything. We will, I think, maybe just dedicate a podcast to reviews and stuff. So if we haven't got to yours now or at some point, we will get to it then.
Is that the end of your statement? Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I just want to say that I love everyone. Wow. Really, those are my thoughts.
Bold stance by you. Everyone. Even the terrible people out there.
I love all people. I mean, you know, I just, you know, feeling the love.
Every person that's ever existed.
No, you know, I love a lot of people. I'll just leave it like that. I love a lot of people. Okay. Anything else? Any final thoughts? Now, if you have any advantages or hidden immunity idols you want to play, now would be the time to do so, Brandon.
So it's funny you say that because I actually had a mock tribal council last night because one of my friends is moving away, and she's a big Survivor fan. Shout out Abby. And so we did a surprise tribal council.
Cowboys. They own
her.
We're in your head, rent free.
For her, and I'm not good at talking. Look, it's not like I do a podcast or anything. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I actually did pull out a hidden immunity idol because everyone voted for me to vote me off, but I had a hidden immunity idol, and she got voted off instead, which is why she is leaving actually now.
My favorite idol play of all time. First of all, shout out Abby. It was Adam in Winners at War playing the podium. That was the greatest idol play of all time.
I do think he got too much flack for that in terms of.
Oh, dude, no, like I respect the hell out of that. Like that was so awesome. Like
it is silly. Admittedly, I'm not going to say that. You know, it's like I'm not saying he shouldn't be like lauded as a genius for doing that. That wasn't like especially creative. It definitely came off goofy. I get why people would like kind of laugh at it. But it wasn't like there's nothing to lose. Like, he didn't actually lose anything by doing that. Like, why not?
And Survivor, like, very famously hides things in plain sight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that would, like, why wouldn't they? Like, you know,
it's worth a shot. What was the downside? That you kind of look silly on television? Okay, that's fine. But like,
He already won $1 million. He doesn't look silly on television
right?
ever again.
Exactly.
You know,
And if it worked, then he could potentially win another $1 million. So yeah.
My last question. I know you are very hard when it comes to grading the Eagles rookie jersey numbers. The Cowboys still waiting on theirs, at least at the time of this recording. What do we think of Kayvon Thibodeau wearing number 5? I hate
Don't
it.
like it.
I hate this new
Don't like
world,
it.
by the way. I hate the rule
Yeah,
change.
so do I. It's dumb. It doesn't look good. Any of these defenders, these players wearing single digits, it's stupid. I don't like it. They should also, I was thinking about this yesterday. We've had this conversation before. They should really add 0 to the numbers usable if they're so concerned about numbers, like having more numbers available. I was also thinking about this idea. Tell me how stupid you think this is. I feel like there should be players allowed to wear 100 jersey, but they can only wear it after like 100 starts with that team.
Oh, I love that. Like it's a mark of consist. Like
with that team too. You can't when you trade teams, it resets the counter. You can only wear it if you've made 100 starts with that team.
I'm super down with like maybe not that, but like I love like patches or commemorative like decorations, like marks or whatever. Like I love the Walter Payton Man of the Year patch for Walter Payton Man of the Year award winners. I do think that we've gone a little overboard with patches because the Chiefs have the like AFC like thing, and then then you've got the captain's patch. So like I remember Drew Brees had a lot going on his jersey at the very end, and it's like, okay, you know what I mean? So like that's a really intimidating thing, but. So I like that idea. I like maybe it's a helmet decal. You know what I mean? Like I like there being some sort of like special sticker. I hate, I'm not the biggest college football fan, but like I hate the Ohio State system where you get the decals for awards. I hate it because it's not uniform. Like nobody has the same helmet on that team. That's dumb to me. You know what I mean? That's
kind of cool though. Like the better players have a ton.
No, it's dumb. I don't like that. But yeah, the number thing is stupid. I think it's so dumb. Big loser energy from Kayvon Thibodeau. Really like the player. Really sad he went to the Giants. But number 5, like, dude, no. Like he would make such an awesome like 99 or like 91 or 97. Like that would be sick. But no.
5. That's the amount of sacks he's going to have this season
over his career. No.
Anyway. As average career season in sacks. 5.
Okay. By the way, I've seen a lot of people back to TikTok are in the jersey like recycling business, saving their Carson Wentz jerseys and turning them into AJ Brown ones. So
I mean, it's a easy
big winner this offseason. People who bought Carson Wentz jerseys.
Seriously, I mean, you just throw some duct tape on that bad boy and you're set.
Oh no, dude! Like the TikToks I've seen, there's people using like rubbing alcohol and like.
Well, sure. If you can do it better, yeah, go for it.
Legit,
but I'm saying if you want to just do it super easy, I think that'd be fine.
Brandon, the final words belong to you.
I don't want to say them.
Well said.